So good evening. I'm glad that we can continue what we started the last two nights. And I think we came so far to understand that we were made out of two materials. And to understand how these two work together is, I believe, a very important thing. We have an interaction not of one element, but of two elements. That's the only way we can explain the human being in its being and its function. And I want now to make a short conclusion of what I said yesterday and even get a step forward. If here we have the body, we saw that he's made out of trillions of chemical factories, and the body is a system of chemical factories. And we saw that we have a spirit, and the spirit is a chemical factory or not? It's not a chemical factory. What is he then? He's just a thought factor, so to say. So he works with spiritual informations. So there is no chemistry here. There's only chemistry here. Here there are the spiritual information. Now, if the two have to work together, we need to know that there must be a way how it is happen or how it works. And we know that we have how many senses? 5, yes? Where do they start? We can say here we have the eye, yes? And then we have the ear, and then we have the nose, and then we have the tongue, looks like a tongue, and then we have the whole body as a transmitting of a feeling. So through the body, the information comes here as a feeling, but who feels the feeling? Who feels the feeling? The spirit feels the hunger, the pain, and so on, yeah? So from the body you get an information, through the body you get the information through the spirit, and he perceives it, and everything that touches the body, the spirit must feel. So when you touch something, the spirit feels, oh, this is wood, or this is metal, or this is something. Then you have a nose that transmits some chemical things through the nerve, and who smells? So the spirit smells. He's the only one who has the capacity to smell. How many different type of smells exist? Oh, I had the tongue. Okay, sorry, I made the wrong thing. So we put this here, so I write here the tongue is the taste. Sorry, taste. And here is the smell from the nose. Yeah, sometimes I do it the other way around, so I get confused. However, so stay with the smell. How many type of different smell do we have? Many. And who can discern about them? Do you think any cell can discern different types of smell? No. Those are different combination, of course, of certain things, but only the spirit can say, oh, this is smelling like vanilla, or smelling like a mango, or like an apple, or yeah. So there are many different types of smell that only the spirit can discern. And then, of course, the taste is not so specific. There are, we can taste sweet, sour, and all. This is not so big deal. But then we come to the hearing. Who hears what comes through the ear? So the spirit hears. He smells and tastes, whatever. So, how many languages are on this world? Who learns the languages? Only he can discern this is English, and this is German, and this is Japanese. There is no power in a cell to discern that. The cell just perceives a noise, and the spirit then understands when it is transmitted to him, this noise means yes, or it means this. And then we have here the music. Yes? So how many, I want to say types of music, but melodies we can put together out of 7, how you call this in English? Notes, 7 notes. So, and then we have the eye who sees. It's the spirit that sees the pictures. They come through the eye, but the eye can see nothing. The brain just can see nothing. It cannot make a picture out of it. And so this is good to understand the relationship. Now, you see, the 5 senses were made so that the spirit can do something about when he hears, smells, and feels something. And when we look well to the 5 senses, how many do we need to survive? Which sense would be the one that transmits the body's needs and is really needed to survive? The feelings, those are needed to survive, because you need to feel it's hot, it's cold, it's painful or not. If we would not feel that, we would have a big problem. We would hurt ourselves, and wouldn't feel, we would bleed, we would lose blood, and we would even recognize it. So the other 4 senses are made for whom? Do we need them necessarily to live? You can be blind, you can be deaf, you can be having nose, yes, and not tasting, and you still live. And so I want to make just this point to make sure that the 4 senses are to satisfy whom? The body or the spirit's needs? No, the 5 senses, the 4 senses, the taste, the smell, the hear, and the see, is made for which satisfaction? So who likes to see things? The body? Who's needed that you see nice, beautiful pictures? The body doesn't see anything. I hear body and spirit and body and spirit. So this is why I want to make sure for you to understand who makes what in the human body, in the human being. So it's when you like to hear something, who do you satisfy? Your body or your spirit? You satisfy your spirit if you hear a nice music. You won't turn on your music to say, I want to give my liver some good energy. No, while you give a nice information to your spirit, he feels good, and then he sends the good energy to the liver so that it works well. Yes, we listen to music to satisfy the spirit's needs, because music is a spiritual need, not a physical one. Is that clear? Why do you think the movies were made? Why do people take pictures? To satisfy the need of their body? Is there any need to see a movie for the body? Not at all. You see, I just want to make sure that you see in the construction was made for the main purpose of the satisfaction of the spiritual needs. The body is just supporting that. It goes through the body. The body is the medium through which the spirit gets its information, but it's all up to him that it is directed, not here down. And that's what the spirit is doing when he takes all this. He evaluates them. And he evaluates them according to his needs. Yes, if you smell something and it doesn't smell good, what do? You say, okay, that's fine. No, I was tempted. I got many diseases. I mean, not so many, but I got some symptoms in my body because I got angry because things were not smelling good. And I will relate to you a story later in these presentations where I was tempted by a patient who didn't have a good smell. And it's something. I got angry. I came one day out of my time with God out in nature, and I entered the house in the morning, and it was a terrible smell in the house. And my wife was she had some spinach, and the spinach was rotten in that plastic bag because it was not, and she tried to separate the good from the evil, but it made a smell that when I came into the house, I almost said, what happened here? And of course, who is guilty for the smell? My wife is guilty that she's not satisfying my spirit with good smell. So, you see, I will tell more about that. So, we evaluate the information according to our need. And if it smells good, we say yes and enjoy it. And if it smells not so good, we try to find out why and separate from that. So this is how we do. And then when the Spirit evaluates it according to his needs, he takes decisions. And those decisions affect the body, and we will see more about that. So that's how the circulation is. Through the body, the Spirit gets its information, and the Spirit, when he acts, gives the power and the information to the body. So that's a circuit. It's a co-working between two units. But you see, the one unit is the head of it, and it's working towards it. And the other is just the means by which it is accomplished. Okay? The body needs to accomplish whose will? The Spirit's will, according to his needs. So I want to make sure that the Spirit is the king in the human being. He's the one that directs it. And yes, without the body he has no function, but the body is just that what is used as well to satisfy the Spirit's needs coming out from outside, and as well as satisfying the Spirit's needs to do things on a command, so your hand follow and your feet follow to do what is needed. So how does then disease come in the human being? It comes in because there is a bad co-working between those two. And disease come in through I said last night, a error that I found out that is in the spirit that brings the destruction and the disease to the body. Let us see what is that error and how I found that out. It's my first case where I saw it, and this first case opened my eyes. And I will always share this first case because it was the first case, and it is a simple case. It just shows very easily the process that happens in our mind, in our thoughts, when we get into a situation that is not according to our expectation. So the lady is about beginning of 30s, and she comes to me with severe headaches. She has the headaches for 2 weeks, and she was treated by her family doctor, and he gave her some medication, but it didn't work. And after 2 weeks, he sent him to the specialist, so I should look deeper into the sinuses to see what is there. And so I looked to her, and I didn't find anything in her nose, but I said, maybe the lady has a tumor in her head, or she has a bleeding. Let's send her to do a CT scan. And since she made such a heavy pain, she looked very painful, I made it urgently. I called my colleague and I sent her in, and she came back with the pictures the same day. And so I saw the pictures. There was nothing that should show anything that causes that pain in her brain. Now let me ask you something. Pay attention. Could I have said to this lady, because I couldn't see anything, there was no sinusitis, there was no bleeding, no tumor, I couldn't see on the picture anything. Could I say to the lady, dear lady, the pain that you have in your head is just an imagination. Don't worry, go home. Could I say that? Now, would you go to the doctor if you have no symptom? And if the doctor would not take you serious and say, forget it. You almost die for pain, and the doctor says, you have nothing. Would you like that doctor? Would he understand his job? No. So I know for sure the lady has pain. How do I know that the lady has for sure pain? Because I have no evidence, do I? Now I have one evidence. If we put her onto a PET scan, we would see that there would be in certain areas of her cortex a reaction that is not there when you have no pain. And that physical reaction comes from the limbic system, because from here the information comes up and makes that pain to the spirit. So all pain is physical. So never you can have pain or you can never imagine yourself having pain. When I put this question, most people answer, can you imagine pain? They say yes. Because they confuse two things. You can get pain from imagination, but when you have the pain, it's not an imagination. Is that clear? So your thoughts can make the pain. And I share this experience from my own life. I was a medical student, and I had my lesson in the morning about the appendicitis and how dangerous appendicitis is, and how you can die from an appendicitis. You know, the appendix in your abdomen. So what happened with me after a few hours later, at midnight, I was in the emergency room with pain around the appendicitis. Now, where did that pain come from? From an imagination. But the pain was real, even though I had no appendicitis. But after 2 days, my dear colleagues took out my appendix to be sure. You see, better take it out than die from it. So I got rid of it. But it was not infected, it had nothing. But I had the pain, but the pain were purely in my cortex made by imagination. So that's possible. But the other way around is not possible. When you have it, it's correct. So every patient that comes to me and says he has headache, or he has a noise in the ear, or he feels something about his throat, I take him serious. He has that pain because that is a physical reaction. Okay? And physical reactions, can they come from nothing? Must there be a cause for a physical reaction? Yes. Is pain a physical reaction that says everything is fine? Or does it say something is wrong? So we don't have pain so that pain should encourage us to go forward, is it? Pain encourages us to see what is wrong. So don't take pain as something that says, don't worry. Pain is something that takes the spirit's attention, yes, because it hurts him. Yeah, does he like pain? Do you like pain? I hate pain. And so I want to have a good spirit to not make the body wrong, then he makes him back pain. He knows how to do that. So in this case, I need to find out who makes the pain to the body. Why does the lady has this physical pain that cannot come up out of nothing? So I asked her, of course, about did she have an injury on her hand? Did she have any other issues? There was nothing. So I asked her about her spiritual things, her thoughts. And I asked her what happened 2 weeks ago, because I know before the pain there must be the cause. So she said 2 weeks before she found out that her boyfriend has betrayed her. He went off with another girl and had an affair with her. So this is a stress point, is it? We can understand her that she has pain, do we? The question is just, for me as a doctor, how does the pain come up? What's the process? So who makes the pain? The boyfriend or herself? Who is responsible for the pain? That's why So, who do we need to treat? You understand? It's very important, the question, because the doctor needs to treat the cause. And if the boyfriend is the cause, he needs to come to the doctor to get his pills for being faithful. Have you been to the doctor to prescribe faithful pills? So, you laugh, but it's a serious thing. Who is responsible for the pain that she has? Who does the body make aware that something is wrong? The boyfriend or herself? Herself. So, since the process is just in herself, the boyfriend didn't touch her, the boyfriend didn't do her any physical injury, we need to see that the things just happens inside of her. So let us see the way she was thinking towards her boyfriend before she knew that he was unfaithful. How was she thinking towards him? What kind of thoughts did she have? Loving thoughts. She knew him a year before. She moved from North Germany to South Germany, and she came there, and she left her parents, came to start with him a new life, and not just after 1 year, she says, he betrays me and is unfaithful. Now, she comes and she has loving thoughts. Are loving thoughts good thoughts? Will the body ever, in your limbic system, make you aware with pain that that thought is wrong? You see, you can have as many loving thoughts you want. It will never harm your nervous system. It will always produce in the center of your brain good endorphins, good hormones that will be released and make you feel good. So loving thoughts are good thoughts. And as long as you have loving thoughts, will you ever get headache? You can be for sure that's impossible. Your brain, your body will never make you aware and say, oh, please don't give me so many love thoughts, that hurts me. That will never happen. Because there is one thing that has no measurement. What is it? Love. There can be nothing ever too much. Love can never be too much. It can be too less, can it? But it can never be too much. So, loving thoughts are thoughts that will make the body function very well, will make no pain. But now, what happens when she hears his doings? What changes in her spirit? So what kind of thoughts does she has now? She's hurt. She thinks on revenge. Are those thoughts poisonous? You see, they poison, they destroy your body in the same way like you would take a hammer and beat your finger. The same pain. It happens the same process. When you put the hammer and beat your finger, you will have the same pain. The spirit will perceive that it is not good to do that, will he? And will he go forward? Or will he stop? He will stop. So let us make that plain. Thoughts that we think we are hurt, that we think, and when you are hurt, immediately you think on revenge. It's unconscious, it's subconscious, it goes fast in moments. I mean, not moments, it's milliseconds. And now she thinketh those thoughts for 2 weeks. She has some friends in her job where she works, and those, she shared her pain with them. What did they encourage her? Did they say, oh, please, have a few more loving thoughts toward your nice... Don't be so to him. Understand him. He's just a man. Yes? You won't find that, unfortunately. So they suggested to her, he needs a revenge. He needs to pay off. And you see what happens? Who pays off? She pays off. Now, is she doing this because she wants? Or does she have a choice to do it otherwise? Now, how would you react? Now, let I tell you another story. Because this is just 1 year relationship. In 2010, one of my patients understands or finds out by accident that her husband has betrayed her since 1975. So for 35 years. Now she finds it out, and she comes to me to be my patient in 2013. How was she doing? Was she happy? She was sleepless. She could not sleep. She had to drive in the night and say, I look to heaven and I don't know what to do. She had other physical symptoms coming up from that event. Now, does she do this because she wants, or she has no choice? Would you have a choice? Would you just hear that your husband has betrayed you for 35 years and you would be full of compassion and saying, oh, you poor husband, you must have a very poor soul. I'm so sorry for you. Would that be your Christian reaction? But that would be the right reaction that your body would need in that moment. Why would we not do it? Why would we, in our own mind, in our own spirit, think something that does not hurt the other, but hurts ourselves? Is that good? Do you think that's smart? I tell you, since I found out in this first case the physiology, so to say, of the thoughts, I saw that when a certain event comes in a person's life, he changes the way he thinks, and he changes the way he thinks against his own body, which then transmits automatically to the spirit the mistake by disease, by, all kind of things that come up in the body. That can be pain, that can be other things in our life. can be headache, that can be ear noise, that can be dizziness, that can be back pain, that can be blisters on your lips. That's one of I have my stomach and the lips that show me my mistakes that I do with my own spirit. But do I do it because I want? Do I say, this is now I want to do this to hurt myself? No. So there is something in the human spirit that makes him, when he gets into a difficult situation, to put him on himself the damage. So I call that an error. Because why would you not think so that you would have a good body? You could have a good function, independent on what your husband or your wife did unto you. And I have now, over these 12 years, I have thousands of stories. And I listen to at least about 7,000 stories of human lives. And I tell you, you don't need 7,000, you don't need 1,000. If you hear 100, you might not need to read any more books about a human being. Because you will see in all those stories that they come to the same end. You see the same pattern in every story. And I heard stories that's unimaginable. Sometimes you think that's not possible. But it is there. But it's when you hear those stories, you see that they all react in the same way, doing harm to themselves. So I say, we need to save humanity. We need to help them. They hurt themselves. And they hurt themselves not because they have a choice in the first sense. They hurt themselves because they think what they do is right. They think they have a right to be revengeful. Have you ever thought that? I have. And it didn't do good to myself. So, where is the error? And the error is general in every human being. And I will share with you the error that I saw in every human being. And it's an error that is not seen as an error. So, we have here the body. And we know the body is a chemical factory. And he has how many needs? He has two basic needs, so to say. So he needs the power or the electricity. And he needs the chemistry, the raw material. So, and those two needs must come from outside. And they come I take the stomach as a representative for the chemistry, and he needs food, so by digestion make all the molecules so that the body has his needs. And then the power comes through the spirit, and the spirit needs love so that the body get fulfilled with His power. Now, we have 3 questions that we need to answer for who and how and from where do these needs need to be fulfilled. So we have here the who, the how, and from where. And we want to do it for both sides. So, who is responsible for your food that it should be satisfied? Who is responsible for your stomach to be filled? Who is it? Me? Okay. Me. To what extent is it me? To 50% or 100%? So who's responsible to fill my stomach? 50% me and 50% my wife? So who is in charge of my stomach? Me to how much percent? So let us be clear on this. There is no one that can eat for us. Is there anyone? No. I never met one that told his wife, please eat this for me so that I might get some weight. Because it would not sound good. So it's me who is responsible for my food to put in. Now let us see how do we put the food in. By what do we fill the stomach? That's the food is the content. By what's the process? By eating and drinking. What is eating and drinking related to the body? Taking or giving? So when you eat, do you take something from the body or you give something to the body? Giving. So when you eat, you give something to your body. But can you give something to your body when you don't take it first? So you need to take first before you give. Like the apple. You need first to take it and then you give it in the way you eat it. So how do we fulfill the need? By taking to give. Yes? So, and now the question is, from where do you take the apple? You can take it from the tree, you can go to the store. So, however we can think, we can all agree, we take it from outside of us. Yes? The apple does not come from inside of us. We take it from outside, we take it, give it, and it's us who is responsible. Yeah? Now we go on the other side to love. Who is responsible that you have enough love in your spirit so that your body and your spirit might function well? Who's responsible? Now, is it me or is it someone else? Now here we have always the problems. Now we blame Jesus. Yes? We think that the responsibility for love does not lie in us, maybe to 50%. But we said that we want to show the error that is in us so that we can not fall into it when we get into a difficult situation. Because we don't see the error as long as we don't get into a difficult situation. So, let's come back. Did God create the Spirit that He should fill Him, or did He create the Spirit that the Spirit should fill Himself? Pardon? So, let us think through. If God is responsible to fulfill my spirit, then when I get angry upon my wife, who's responsible for that anger? I thought that God. So you see where the confusion is? So the law shows us again that the responsibility is with the spirit of man. If not, what could I say to this lady? Could I say to her that, oh, your husband has done wrong unto you? Now you're lacking love and you are in a trouble. Who's responsible for the good functioning of my body? So we must say we are. So I am responsible. It's me who is responsible. How much love I have in my spirit or not. It's me alone. It's 100% me, or 50% me, or 50% God, or 50% my wife, or my children. Who is it? It's me 100%. Because if it would not be mine, then that would be not good. The second question, how do I need to fill the Spirit's cup so that in my body should be plenty of power of love so that it functions well? What's the process? What do I need to do to give the right power to the body? What do I need to think? What are good thoughts? Loving thoughts. Understanding thoughts. Yes? Understanding thoughts are loving thoughts. What are loving and understanding thoughts? Taking or giving? Towards whom do you need to have the loving thoughts? Toward those around you, so they are a process of giving. So when you have loving thoughts, understanding thoughts, you give, and then you feel how? Happy and good. Now, can you give love from yourself? We will see this later on. The truth is, you have to take it first before you can give it. But there is a big deception here. We will speak about that later. But now we just see the truth how it is, so that we see the construction, so that we can contrast the error with the truth. So you need to take first to give. So how? You take to give, and that's how you fulfill your need. And now the question comes, from where do you take love? How many sources are there? So, from where do you take love? So, you take it from God. Yes? And where is God? Outside or inside? God, yes, He's outside. So you see, the process is the same on spiritual and on physical. Who is in charge? Who is in charge? We are in charge. Do you like it? Do you like it? It's perfect. That's perfect. It's God's creation. He created individuals that can function perfectly, being only responsible themselves for their fulfilling of their needs. It's not better possible. But now, where is the deception? Why the lady cannot think? And by the way, there are husbands too. I have a husband, a gentleman who went into psychiatry because he found out that his wife betrayed him 20 years. And he had 3 sons, and one son he found out after 20 years was not his. So he got into deep depression and went into the hospital, and there he was treated after 6 years, so the depression developed slowly. And then when he was treated, he got his ringing in his left ear. So he came to see me. So it's on both sides, these experiences. And it's not the only one with unfaithfulness, but they are very common because we are having these relationships here. And we have there a lot of problems. So why is this reaction when the truth is that I am responsible? Why do I get upset when I am betrayed? Who do I pity? Do I pity me? Or do I pity him? You see, if you would pity him, you would have no headache, you would get never a depression, you would be just free. But the problem is that you pity yourself. You know why? Because you have an error in your spirit, and the error is deep in us that says, I need to be loved. Do you have a need to be loved? Is that the truth or is that the error? You see, we all think that the need of love is fulfilled in us by what others are doing. That's why we think God is responsible to fill us up. That's why we think to be loved is that what we need. And if we are not loved in our childhood, we blame whom that we are so miserable today? We blame our parents and say, they didn't give us love. Yes, they did have not also, but still, we poor people, if they would have just had enough love to give us, we could also share today enough love, and we would not be so miserable. So, the deception is that the human spirit thinketh that someone else need to act to fulfill his need, because whose action is to be loved? Of who do you expect to do it? Yourself? Can you do to yourself to be loved? Can I explain that? I mean, You see, I give you an example. When I first got married, it's now over 32 years. You see, my wife told me, it says, I love you. And by the way, I subconsciously I understood that message. And so I said, okay. Was she happy? Said, I love you. That's fine. Did she like it? No. Why not? What was she expecting? She was expecting to be loved. Truth or error? You see, I understood it. You see, when my wife says, honey, I love you, I know I must do something, or she wants to give me something. Are you with me? So when my wife tells me, honey, I love you, what is that? An offering or a request? So do you like requests? I do not like them. Especially when they come under the window of, oh, I want to give you something. You understand the deception? Every one of us are born with this deception. We'll see how deep it is in our spirit. And we always expect from the other one to fill us up. And we are upset when they don't do it. To be loved means another needs to act for me. Because to be loved is the act of another. So let us see how that looks in a simple equation. If this is me, and this is my mother, and my father, and my wife, and my siblings, and my children, and my dog, and my cat. The question is, for which purpose do I have these relationships? Do I have them to love them in the way to love them, to give them something? Or do I have them that I should be loved, to receive something? Why do I have this relationship? What is the motivation of it? Why did the lady from North Germany came to South Germany, left her parents, and came to this boyfriend? Did she come to give love or to receive love? So she did something, she came and gave, and as long as she gave, how was she feeling? Very good. But then he did something wrong. And she realized he loves her, he loves her not. She realizes he loves her not. And in a moment you realize that someone does not love you, what do? Do you still love? No, you stop loving. You say, he's not worthy for my investment. And the moment you stop loving, it's like you stop breathing. Is that healthy to stop breathing? Is it healthy to stop eating? No. So, let us make plain the motivation why someone comes and makes big offerings must be questioned and can only then be answered correctly if the other one fails and you still love. And that is needed to see, and we will talk about that if we have time also, because there's also correctness in dealing in relationships. Yeah? Because many people, and I have marriages where the husband goes away and then the wife forgives first, forgives the second, forgives the third. Is she helping her husband or not? No, she's helping herself. It's the same dependency. She's so dependent on being loved from him so she can forgive him again and again, but she does not come out of her hurting. She is hurt a lifelong, and she will be sick and unsatisfied and unhappy. So we must know, why do we give? And we give to receive. And as long as we receive enough back, we have no problem. But when the moment we do not receive it back, we get into big problems in our own body. And we do not even recognize the process. I once had a lady, she had dizziness. And she had dizziness because she was in a conflict with a neighbor. And the neighbor did something wrong, I don't know, whatever. You know, neighbors are not always the best, are they? And this neighbor, I don't know where he did something that she was upset on him. And so she came back to me again and again and complaining about her dizziness. And I told her yes, and I wanted to make her understand the neighbor, to love the neighbor. And I said her that a few times, and then she said suddenly to me and said, "You are with my neighbor." So like I am on the neighbor's side and against her. You see, who did I want to help? The neighbor or her? But when you tell her the best help would be to love the neighbor, what's the answer? Oh, how can I do that? Because you expect the neighbor to give you the right thing. You see where the trap is. The trap is that is correct. The neighbor does something wrong. The partner, the husband or the wife, are unfaithful. That is wrong. But the way you react on that wrong is the same wrong. But you don't see it as wrong. Because you think you have a right to be upset. You think you have a right to be angry. But you don't have it. Imagine you would love in this direction to give. And you would not be dependent on what another would do. You would have pity with the other one. You would not have pity with yourself. So this deception leads humanity, and we have it all inherited. It's not something specific to culture. It's not something specific to any place on the earth, it is specific to every human being born on this earth. Everyone has this error in himself, and this error leads him to not see by which purpose he acts. He thinks he's the most outgoing, and he does not understand. He is just does that so that he might receive something back. I give you one more example to exemplify that. I had this 24 young lady. She had a boyfriend for 5 years. They were living together, and she said to me that she was unhappy with her boyfriend. And she told me that she says to her boyfriend, every day she says, I tell him, I love you. But he tells it to me maybe once a month. Why did she tell her? Why did she tell him she loves him? To satisfy her need, or that he should satisfy her need? So she wanted to hear his, because she would act according to whose will? His will. Is she aware of that? No. She's not aware that she's a slave, because she's a beggar. And she begs with love. I love you. That's a good thing. You should be happy. But no, if you don't hear it back, you get into trouble. I once had a lady that was married for 13 years. And she had 2 children. And the children showed some symptoms. And I knew that something is going on in the mother's heart. So I asked her, what's going on? And I had a counseling session, because they were Christians, with both of them. And she told me the husband didn't tell her once in the last 13 years that he loves her. Now, whom would you treat as a counselor? Would you treat him? I mean, I have spoken to him also a few words, because he is doing damage to himself if he does not love her. But how much does she need to hear his words? Is it hard to say? Does she need to hear his words, I love you? Does she? You see, if she would need it, her life would be in bondage to her life. She would not be an individual, made free as a free agent that has the ability to take and give, being not dependent on the taking or action of another one. So this is bondage. You know in what consists bondage and slavery? The slavery the human being is in. It's from the error. The error or the slavery brings you into a dependency. You are dependent, dependent for love, dependent for love from the deeds and existence of others. Or can we understand this? We are dependent on love. We will see that, because we have to take and give it. But to be dependent that others should do it for you is a slavery. Or that others should exist there for you to give it is a slavery. This is where we fall into the trap of making ourselves sick. It's when others are not doing it correct to us, when others mistreat us, or when good people pass away. When they are not there anymore, we miss them because of what? Because of their love towards us. We think when they are not there, then we will miss love. That's such a subtle deception that we will not see it as a wrong thing, because we say, well, but I love my mom. And you see, it happens that most people, when they die, they think they go back to their mom. I observed in my career with my patients that when you come to the age of 70, you go over 70, you start thinking more on your mom than ever before. Because you associate with mom love. You don't need mom to wash or cook you, do you? No. But people want to have their mom to love them. And it brings them into the grave. Because they die for longing. And no one can satisfy that. Because if you expect others to drink for you the water and you are on the well of water, what will happen with you? You die. And this is exactly the error that is in us. We are at the well of water and we are awaiting that others should drink for us. That's not very smart, is it? But it is so subtle that we hardly can see it. But disease shows it, that we are in a slavery. We are born in this slavery. We have no guilt to be that we are born like this. The only thing is if we want to stay in that slavery. Do you want to stay in that attitude to think you need the love of the others, or you want to get rid of that error? I know this is a hard question, because it goes at the root of the problem. So I rather would have control over myself than lose it. What would you ask? If I expect from my wife, and I have expected from my wife many years to fulfill my need, and I will share one night my conversion story that happens 12 and a half years ago. And it happens on the same place where I was totally bound in slavery, dependent on the will of a human to satisfy my need. And I almost died for it. That's how I felt. But God is merciful to us, and He wants to help us, that we might understand that when He created us, did we have an error in our mind? No. We were created without this error. That did not exist. How much did Adam expect from his wife to love him? Did he? No. Adam just saw it and said, this is it. This bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She's part of me. I love her. He did not expect her to love him. And did Eve expect from Adam? No. They knew how it works. They were made to work together in a very nice unity on giving love to each other and both taking it from the right source, God. Like you take the apple from a tree and you eat it, so you would take the love from God and you will share it with one another. and there would never be any dissension, never be any argument, never be any dissatisfaction. Just happiness forever. And everyone would be in control of himself. We will see tomorrow night how the error came into our lives and where in the subconscious, in our heart, the problem is. Because I tell you, even though tonight you might say, I go home and love my selfish husband. Do you like to love selfish people? Why not? Because from the selfish people, how much do you get? Nothing. They just want from you anything. That's why you stop loving selfish people. But I saw people dying because they could not love their selfish husbands. You see, it's your own selfishness that makes you stop loving a selfish person. If you would be unselfish, you could love any selfish person. It wouldn't matter to you whom you love. Of course, you would do it with discernment. You would do it so that the other one might help, because love has many faces. But you would not have any issues to love a selfish person. A selfish person wouldn't make you upset, would it? So let's start to love our selfish spouses. How about that? No one has selfish spouses, I know. So even though we would propose ourselves to say, from now on, I love them, I can predict to you the hour comes and you will fall again into the same trap, because the thing is deeper than on your conscious level. And we'll see those things. We will see how what the Bible tells about what is the heart. Where is life coming from? Because if we understand this relationship, we understand where to focus when we are sick, then we know where we need to change things. And the things needs to be changed in the heart. Because to be loved is just a fruit of the error. It's not the error itself. It's just the result of it. And we'll see tomorrow night. We start. Tomorrow is Wednesday? Yes? And then it gets a little bit more interesting. And by the end of the week, we will have it put all together as a whole picture, so that we might understand our need and we might understand the error, so that when we get into difficulties in our relationship, we would be able to react so that our stomach should not be hurt, our head should not be hurt, our knees should not be hurt, but they should stay in a good function, because our spirit is in control of his own life.